Well, she's came and gone. The NHL trade deadline for the 2021 season has concluded. It's about 5 o'clock now. Deals are pretty much, as far as I know, all done, all been posted, all officialized, things like that. And the Penguins only made one trade, but it's a pretty substantial one. The Penguins acquired Jeff Carter from the Los Angeles Kings in exchange for 2 conditional draft picks, that being a 2022 third-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick. We only saw a couple of 2023 draft picks traded in this one, and that makes sense as it's coming from the Penguins, given the fact that the Penguins barely have any in the 2021 draft. Let's go over these trades as well as other trades in the Mass Mutual East Division, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on them. But first, we'll start off with the Jeff Carter trade, the big one for the Penguins. The Los Angeles Kings retained 50% of Carter's salary in this one, and that's, the number one thing that I was looking at when the Penguins, when Bob McKenzie tweeted that the Penguins would be interested in Jeff Carter. I don't hate the move because it's not that pricey. It was only for 2 picks. But I don't like that Jeff Carter has another year left on his deal, which is at $5.27 million, which is cut in half. 2.6 for the Penguins. He can play center. He can play right wing. He's 36 years old. People are calling for him to be the Penguins' new third-line center, which I can definitely see why. He's played center a lot in his career. But I don't want it to be that. Having your 3 centers be a 36-year-old Sidney Crosby, a 37-year-old Evgeny Malkin, and a 36-year-old Jeff Carter is not what a Stanley Cup contending team should have. I think Carter is better suited on the winger now, or on the wing now in his career. He played with Gabe Vilardi in Los Angeles for some spurts as he was there, his center, and he's looked, decent. He played for LA. LA's definitely struggled ever since they won their cups in 2012 and 2014, which Carter was both on both of those teams. So he already has 2 Stanley Cups to his name, and hopefully, another one coming soon. But my overall thoughts are the Penguins could use a guy like Carter potentially in a playoff run. He's got the experience. He's got the, he's a veteran. He can help. But the things that scare me on this deal outweigh the things that are positive for me. The things that scare me being obviously what I already mentioned, the fact that he has another year left on his deal, and he's aging, and the Penguins do not need an older forward on their team right now, especially with, how up and coming some of these, players have been in the Penguins' bottom 6, the Frederick Gaudreaus, the Anthony Angelos, the Mark Jankowskis, and Radim Zahornas. He's going to kick one of them guys out of the lineup. The thing that scares me the most is the fact that this deal had to be made in the first place, which may mean that Evgeny Malkin may be out for a substantial amount of time, longer than we expected, and the same goes with Kasperi Kapanen and Brandon Tanev, which I am not happy about. Obviously, you never want to see a player get hurt, but the fact that, Hextall brought in Carter, also in his first ever trade as the Penguins general manager, he obviously thinks that he needs to address something in terms of depth, and he needs to patch up a hole. And he did that with a guy like Carter. So it's interesting. I don't know if Carter will temporarily be the Penguins' second line center until Malkin gets back. But we talked today in the live stream about, as crazy as it sounds, is Malkin's time in Pittsburgh winding down because he cannot stay healthy. And he's becoming a liability of the team, but I won't get into that. I'll make a whole video on that probably sometime in the summer because that's a whole discussion in itself. I love Evgeny Malkin. I'll just put that out there. So that pretty much is my thoughts on the Jeff Carter trade overall. I like the addition, but I don't like that there's another year, and I don't like the fact that the Penguins had to bring him in the first place due to the injuries that they have. I'm very excited to see Jeff Carter play. His first game will be against his former team in the Philadelphia Flyers. He was obviously a very good player, back when he played for the Flyers, and when he got to the Kings, he had a stint with the Blue Jackets in there as well. And he'll wear number 77 for the Penguins. I'm definitely excited for him as a player to come over, and, I'm very excited for what he can do on the ice. But again, from a trade perspective, it's not a bad trade given the fact that you don't give up much. But again, the extra year bothers me, and the fact that the Penguins had to trade for him in the first place means that there's some significant injuries that maybe is worse than we expected. Now, a trade that was rumored but never happened was Nick Delorier coming to the Penguins. Obviously, Brian Burke, and I guess Ron Hextall for that matter, but mostly Brian Burke, felt that the Penguins needed some depth and some grit. And Delorier never came to the Penguins, and it's not looking like he is going to. It's 5:30 almost. So yeah, the trade never happened, even though I believe it was Friedman who posted Delorier is going to the Penguins, and he never did. It wouldn't have been an extensive deal by any means if it was just Delorier. I know there was a bunch of people wishing it was Ricard Raquel or even Ryan Getzlaf, but that didn't happen. And even just Delorier didn't happen. And I'm honestly kind of glad because, like, Delorier, where would you put him on a fully healthy Penguins lineup? So let's move on from around the East Division. These are obviously not East Division teams. These are the East Division teams, but these are obviously not because I included them to be part of the trades that they were in. All right, so let's just go right down the list here, and we'll start with the Capitals. And obviously, these teams here are not in the East Division. They're just the teams that they were traded for. I had class at 4, and the trade deadline ended at 3. And then I processed it, and then I watched the Penguins press conference at 3:30, blah, blah, blah. So I wasn't checking trades. And in the middle of class, I get on Cap Friendly to check the trades. And I see that Anthony Mantha, I'm looking at the Washington Capitals side first. I see that Anthony Mantha goes to Washington, and I go, oh boy, that's a good ad. And then I see what they traded to get him. And man, did they get fleeced. The Capitals gave up Jacob Vrana, who is arguably a better player overall than Anthony Mantha, as well as a first-rounder, Richard Panik, who's a decent, mediocre forward, and a second-rounder for Anthony Mantha, who has 4 years left on his deal. He has term. They got fleeced. If I was Yzerman in the first place, I wouldn't have wanted to get rid of Mantha, but for a deal like this, hell yeah. I think that's hilarious that the Capitals got fleeced this bad. And I think pretty much everyone else agrees that they did get fleeced. Reading the Twitter comments on the Capitals posts and just looking through, other social media, it's pretty evident that the Capitals lost this trade. They give up arguably the better player, a first and a second, and a pretty decent throw-in player for a pretty good player. Mantha's a great player. But for that much, Capitals got fleeced, man. I'm happy to say it. Also, the Capitals added Michael Raffl, traded with the Flyers for a 5th-round pick, whatever. I mean, that makes sense. Raffl pretty much blends into the Capitals mentality, and he's an absolute goon. So he can play for these 2 teams and these 2 teams only. Maybe the Bruins, too, but there it is. The Flyers also traded away Eric Gustafsson for a 7th. I didn't know he had that bad of a season, but whatever. The Flyers didn't really do much right now. Also in blue, I forgot to mention, in blue are the current points for every team in the Mass Mutual East Division. The Penguins currently trailing the Capitals and the Islanders by 2 points. And man, the Capitals trades today were just weird. Now, obviously, very big trades here between the Boston Bruins and the Buffalo Sabres. The Taylor Hall trade happened. This is another trade where a team got fleeced, but the buyers won this one and the sellers lost this one. The Sabres had to get what they could for Hall, and they didn't get much. They only got Andreas Bjork and a 2nd-round pick. They also got a 3rd-round pick from the trade for Montour and a 3rd and a 5th for Eric Stahl. So they sold, obviously, like they do every year, because the Sabres are just a train wreck of dumpster fire of a franchise. Boston adds Curtis Lazar as well, and also Mike Rielly for some depth defensemen. They're all pending unrestricted free agents. This is the last year that Boston has to compete for a Stanley Cup, if they even make the playoffs this year. The Islanders obviously acquired Zajac and Palmieri a couple days back for a first, Lou Lamoriello connection there. And they also added Braden Coburn. I think those are all solid adds for a pretty good price. And I think, it's a win-win for both sides of all the trades that the Islanders made. And I think they're going to win the division. And the Rangers did absolutely nothing, so I threw it back to the 2021 4th, which was the last trade that they made. They acquired that, and they traded Brendan Lemieux to the LA Kings. That's the last thing that they've done. They really haven't done anything yet. They are coming into their own right now. Not sure they're going to make the playoffs. They did pass the Flyers in terms of points. They're tied right now, but I think they have the tiebreaker. And then, of course, the Sabres and the Devils. I won't even read the names, but they sold at the deadline and got a couple of picks for it. Devils getting a first in the Zajac Palmieri deal, and the best pick, or the highest pick, the Buffalo gets is the second in that. So that's the East Division. I wanted to just go over just the East Division, obviously, because it's the Penguins division, but there is a team on the board there's a team on the board that the Penguins will play in the first round of the playoffs. I had to get rid of the teams that aren't in the division. So if it's Washington, they got Mantha. If it's Boston, they got Hall. If it's the Islanders, they got Palmieri and Zajac. If it's the Rangers, they didn't do anything. And if it's Philly, it's not going to be Philly. So let me know your thoughts on the Jeff Carter trade as well as the entirety of the NHL trade deadline. I did a live stream. The only thing I'll plug in that is, like, if you guys are lost on trying to figure out where everyone went, I grinded out the description and updated the description of that video. So if you guys are lost on that, click on that video, pause it or whatever. I don't care if you guys don't watch the actual live stream. It's like 2 hours. But in the description, I have everyone, what every team added, and things like that. So like, comment, subscribe. Give me your thoughts on Jeff Carter in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys Thursday for the next PFR. I'll probably post another video. Until then, thank you everyone that joined these past 2 live streams. Again, I was just experimenting with them. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.